If Adult Protective Services were to find that a senior was unhoused, but they could possibly be accepted into long-term care, sometimes it just doesn't even matter if they meet the requirements to go into long-term care. There's not a bed for them. I mean, they're waiting for a bed. So it's in every way, it's impacting their health care, their services, everything.
Welcome to Shoresides, where we explore the coastal North Carolina region's past, present, and future to promote community resilience. I'm Nicholas Marino. It's common knowledge that southern coastal states like North Carolina are popular attractions for wealthy retirees. But to characterize the entire senior population of the state as such would be a big mistake. North Carolina is also home to many seniors who have lived their entire lives there and are supported by family members who live nearby. And for them, the housing crisis is uprooting their way of life. We'll speak to Casey Poplosky, an aging resource specialist at Brunswick Senior Resources Incorporated, to learn more about the problems facing senior homeowners and renters in North Carolina and how her organization is helping solve them.
I serve the Oak Island Southport area, which is where we've seen the greatest population boom, and I would dare say the bigger housing crisis. And as you can imagine, the seniors are facing some of the same challenges with this becoming a popular place to live. And the rentals that were once available that the seniors were living in were sold and flipped, and that reduced the housing a great deal. So that impacted the seniors, I dare say, more than the younger population, because you had seniors that were retiring here very early on before the population boom. So if they were in rentals on Oak Island that were $800 a month or less, sometimes those houses were either sold or either the rents went up to $2,000, $1,500, $2,000 for what used to be an $800 a month rental. But there's a different type of impact on the seniors in that they are on a fixed income. And the ones that we're encountering, because of course we're doing the home delivery meal program, so that involves people that are homebound. They are documented as homebound, really meaning they're disabled. So not only are they on a fixed income, but due to their disabilities, they can't go get part-time jobs to supplement their Social Security. So that really limits what their choices are going to be. They're also further impacted because some of them grew up here. I have one client that she's lived her entire 96 years in Southport. And as you can imagine, that being the case, she has a lot of family support here. So for her to just go somewhere else, who would help take care of her?
Brunswick Senior Resources Incorporated offers a variety of services for seniors, such as meal delivery, in-home aid, and nutrition programs. But just because someone is eligible for those kinds of services doesn't mean they can actually receive them.
So even some of the programs that we have, which we're not a county operation, so most of our programs are not entitlement programs. So there are programs that aren't based on income. They're based on the need of the people. So we're establishing that need, and even though we are paying for the services they're getting, they still don't have access to the services. So I'll give you an example. The in-home aid program. We can serve X number of people on that for the county, but right now it's over a year-long wait for that program. Because we have a lot of seniors in this county, and because of the population growth of the seniors in the county, but also because there are no aides that can fill the positions to offer that program. A lot of the aides are having to come in from the Wilmington area, and at the rate of pay that they're going to get through that program, it's very difficult for them to come here and do it.
Brunswick County is experiencing a population boom of seniors. This means that there aren't enough resources to go around when it comes to actually housing people in need.
So the senior population in Brunswick County has been the fastest growing. Brunswick County itself was the 7th, placed in the top 10 of the fastest growing counties in the nation. We were 7 from the last census report. And the Senior population, 65 and plus, from 2010 to 2022 increased 122.8%. So yeah, that's wow. And it does, of course, make up the greatest percentage of this county. The seniors do, and I mean that's for obvious reasons. This is a real draw because it's a coastal area, so it's it's a retirement community. So that's we are seeing seniors displaced, sleeping in the parking lots of the senior centers because they feel safe there. They're going to be able to come in and get something to eat, and maybe try to wash up in the sinks. It's just a place that they feel safe.
Poplosky describes many of these seniors as people who had worked their entire lives. While income-based housing options exist, they aren't limited to seniors. Other groups facing housing challenges are also competing for these limited resources.
The 55 plus houses, 62 plus apartment complexes that are based on income, 2 62 plus communities. That means that they're only take that age region up, but it's also based on your income, so it's considered affordable, quote unquote, affordable housing. And I believe 3 55 plus, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 others that are just Section 8. So it's not limited to seniors, and they're competing with everybody else that's got low income housing. So, and again, the seniors are competing with everybody else that's applying for those Section 8 vouchers. So if one of them gets displaced or unhoused, there's really nothing that we can do. Even Adult Protective Services, they don't have the authority to bump a senior up to the top of a waiting list.
It's more than just transportation issues that are keeping people in Brunswick County. Seniors who rely on their family or other personal support feel uncomfortable leaving that behind to go somewhere with more accessible housing.
I do feel that there are those in the community, because of this being an affluent area, that there's the feeling that people could go other places to get housing. And so the community, some folks in the community feel that, why would we be investing in shelters and low income housing? Because they could go seek it in other places. So I think that's one of the biggest things that we're fighting against. I think there are pieces that people don't consider. They just say, well, if you don't have the economic resources to live in an area like this, then you leave the area. And they're not considering that for people that are dependent on adult children, that's not that simple.
Typically, when someone cannot find a home on their own, shelters are the next step for them. But coupled with the scarcity of housing is the fact that the shelters that can care for seniors and their needs may have additional requirements that are impossible for some to meet.
Really why I stepped up and wanted to be on the board for Brunswick Partnership for Housing, hoping that we could get some shelters or relief housing specifically for seniors. Is shelters, some shelters really cannot even take someone that is disabled. And then a lot of the shelters have work programs. They operate on a work program. But if you're disabled and you can't work as a senior, you can't go there. So shelters are just not available for our seniors for the most part.
Poplosky feels that the biggest and most immediate need for seniors in Brunswick County is to increase the amount of shelters available.
As we sat at the board meeting for Brunswick Partnership for Housing, and we forced ourselves to narrow down what we would push the community for, it would be shelters, temporary shelters, some sort of housing to put people that were displaced, just to get them from, get them sheltered and from sleeping outside. Affordable housing is a biggie, and of course we want that, and we're pushing for that. But that's not something that comes quickly. It's really not in the interest of builders and landowners to build affordable housing, because they don't and they can make plenty of money off of whatever they're constructing. They don't need that. So that's a long way down the road, probably, and it's a long fight. But to get us through, just would be a shelter.
Poplosky feels that the next step in fighting back against these issues is finding ways to collaborate with local agencies to coordinate a response when people come to them for help. State leaders have been calling these coalitions multidisciplinary teams, or MDTs. Organizing these groups would mean that organizations like Poplosky's can respond to those in need more efficiently.
Well, North Carolina has been really promoting and pushing for every county in North Carolina to have a multidisciplinary team. It doesn't sound like that relates specifically to housing, but what it relates to is within a community, if you can get agencies to coordinate their efforts, you just simply provide better service. You're working smarter rather than harder, and you're cross-training. So just like with an example of this flood that just happened and the 8 displaced seniors, you have Red Cross that's working with them, and you have my agency that's working with them. You have Brunswick Partnership for Housing that's working with them. Of course, Emergency Services, they're a piece of it. They were actually helping these folks move, using our box trucks to help them move. So I think within communities, especially like mine, we work closely together, but it's strange how sometimes we can actually work against one another. But if we have an MDT team, if we're coming together once a month and we know what the other one is doing, it really improves the situation all the way around, whether that's to assist the unhoused, to look into abuse situations of neglect. And Brunswick County has been trying to get an MDT together and going. I mean, it's started, it's building, but and like I said, North Carolina has, at the state level, has been pushing and promoting, but I think we just need even more of that, because we need to get police departments on board, fire departments on board.
Poplosky feels that this collaboration may be the first step in tackling problems seniors face that no single agency can solve alone.
And as you can imagine, for them, a lot of it is, how do we take time out of an already busy schedule and the staff that we don't have already to meet this population boom? How do we stop everything we're doing once a month to just sit down at the table and talk for an hour? So, they're feeling very pulled, and it's understandable, but it seems like it just got to be a way to do it somehow.
From Shoresides, this is Nicholas Magrino. Learn more about Shoresides at shoresides.org. Thanks for listening.